What's up, YouTube? It's What's Pumping. Another update today. It's just not a major update, just changing some wires around in the truck. You see here I have booster cables. If you look, it says 8 gauge, 12 feet, up to 200 amps of current. I picked up this booster cable at Walmart for like 20 bucks for 12 feet. So I said to myself, I want to change the subwoofer wiring to my monoblock, my 2 audioque 3500 strapped. Right now I'm using 12 gauge, and I'll show you, it's right here. This is 12 gauge wire. Nothing's wrong with the 12 gauge wire. I just wanted to replace it with an 8 gauge wire because I'm getting 415s in this truck, and I know I'm going to have a lot of current, so I want to get a stronger and thicker gauge of subwoofer wire. And like I said, this was what brand was this? I think it was Scotch here. Scotch, if I can see it here, I'll show you guys. It's hard to see this stupid camera. It's got the print on the I don't know if you guys can see it. One second here. It's hard to see, but it says, I don't know, maybe you can see there, Scotch or whatever. Anyways, so right now I was using 12 gauge subwoofer wire for the 2 audioque 3500 strapped, and you can see them. I don't know if you can see them. They're right here. The wire's thin, it's flexible. I used it temporary for the pair of 15s 12 gauge, and now, like I said, you know, I got more power. I'm gonna be running these 2 amps at half ohm stable, strapped in parallel, both sub enclosures. So 4 15s in parallel, dual 4s, all wired positive, negative, negative. So I was thinking I was gonna go with new concepts. Speaker wire. Nothing's wrong with new concepts. I just got a good deal for 20 bucks for 12 feet. I said to myself, might as well, let me try using booster cables. So I took a risk. I went to Walmart, I bought the cables, and I brought them home. And what I did was I took out the ends of the cables. Like I took out the handles. I didn't need the handles. I just bought the wire just for the subwoofer wire. So I'm gonna show you guys. Here we are. Look how thick this 8 gauge wire is, and it's pure copper. If you look at all the wire in here, you know, it's pure copper, and you can't go wrong. 200 amps of current in this 8 gauge booster cable. I know they use booster cables to jumpstart cars, but 200 amps of current in the cable, you know, it's good for car audio. Wire's wire, you know, as long as it's pure copper or somewhat decent copper in the wire, which is pretty thick. When I compare it to the 12 gauge, you'll see for yourself the difference. You know what I mean? With this lane, it's hard to see. This is the 12 gauge, and that's the 8 gauge on the left. So there's a big comparison in the thickness, the size. And you know what? For 20 bucks, it's like $1 and, I don't know, $1.40 a foot or something, or whatever it is. You can't go wrong. So, like I said, for 20 bucks, I got 12 feet of 8 gauge subwoofer wire, and I'm gonna hook them up to the amplifiers over here, and then connect them to the box all the way down there. I don't know how much feet I need. Maybe I'll probably need another 10 more feet, maybe 20 feet, because I gotta strap both amps together, and I'll show you guys how it looks. Who knows if this booster cable's wire sounds good with these 215s. You know, I'll even use this. I'll even buy the same wire at Walmart for the other subwoofer enclosure. So like I said, guys, you can't go wrong. Best bang for your buck. It does the job. You know, it's a pretty decent thickness, like I said. You can't go wrong, guys. You know what I mean? This is thick. This is thick shit, man. Look at it, man. Very, very thick. And tough, too. And very flexible, like I said. They're flexible. So I'll show you guys when I hook them up to the amps, how it looks on the amps. And we'll go on from there. Okay. We cut one wire. We got one wire here, which is the positive and negative. And I got the chart here. This is the way it's gonna go down, guys. When you're hooking up two audioque 3500 strapped, you got the master and you got the slave. The bottom amp, which is here, that's the master. The top one is the slave. The bottom amp here, you switch to master, which is the bottom one, and then the right amp you switch to slave. And then the 1 RC input of one amplifier goes into the other output of the other amplifier. And then you have two negatives, and two positive on each amp. Two negative, two positive on each amp. Right now we're going to put 2 amps in negative. You use both amps in negative to strap them. So negative, negative into negative, negative. That's to strap the amp. Then the left amp, which is the master, the positive to 2 subwoofers, and then the other positive on this amp becomes negative to 2 subwoofers. So master amp positive, slave amp negative. So that's the way it works in this configuration here. And the only difference is when we get the other box on top of this one here, we're just gonna add another 2 more positives to the other box and 2 more negatives to the same wire. But it's same configuration. So I'm just showing you guys that. For now, we're gonna we have the wire cut here. We're gonna put it. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of tight here in the friggin' damn corner. We're gonna hook it up to right down here, right here. It's hard to see. It's very tight. Right here, we're gonna do the 2 negatives now to each amplifier, and then we're gonna do 1 amp for positive, 1 amp for negative. So I'm just showing you guys that. So that's how you strap both amplifiers at 1 ohm for now, and then when we get the L215s, it'll be half ohm stable. We got the 2 negatives on the master amp, and then the 2 negatives hooked up to the slave amp. Don't worry about the color of the wire, because the wire is positive, negative, but either wire you could use for negative or positive. It's just the color of the jacket that's covering the wire for protection. Just they use it as positive, and the black one is negative. So positive, negative doesn't make a difference. They're both negatives going to each amplifier. Negative over there, and negative over there, and then we'll hook up this amp for positive, and then the bottom amp for negative. In this subwoofer wire, 8-gauge wire here, we're gonna wire the master, the bottom one, the master, right here to negative. It's gonna go to the negative subwoofers, and then the slave on top is gonna go positive to the subwoofers. So bottom amp negative for the subwoofers, top amp positive for the subwoofers, and then before we did the negative to 1 amp to the negative and the other amp. So both amps are positive, but we use 1 amp for the positive and the other amp for the negative. That's all we have to remember. So 1 amp is for positive, 1 amp is for negative, and then 2 negatives, 1 in each amplifier together strapped. The 2 negatives are strapped, the 2 positives are for 1 positive, 1 negative. I know it sounds confusing, but when you're writing on a diagram, it makes sense. If you ask audioque, they'll help you with technical support with the wiring diagram and stuff like that if you get confused. We connected the positive amp here. We got 2 wires here to the positive amp, and it goes down all the way in the hole here. I have it for the past the wires, and it's right here. I gotta connect these 2 to positive here. One there, one there. That'll hook up after. I still got another wire I gotta hook up for the negative amp, which is on top of here. So I gotta hook up the negative right here. Sorry, the negative right here. We connected the 8-gauge wire to the sub enclosure from Fatbox USA. This is some thick ass 8-gauge, you know, subwoofer wire. Looks thick, almost like 4-gauge. So you pass it underneath the platform. Came out of the 2 holes there. Right to the amplifiers. 1 amp for positive, 1 amp for negative, and then the 2 amps strapped with the negative on each amplifier. Looks pretty decent. Maybe sometime tomorrow or the next day I'll do a demo and see how this booster cables perform in this truck. Looks good, but we'll see how it performs. So there you have it, guys. Booster cables for subwoofer enclosures, you know, 20 bucks for 12 feet. I wired up 2 amps going to the sub enclosure, and then when I get my other Fatbox enclosure, I'll have to buy maybe another 2 more 12 feet 8-gauge booster cables. If it becomes okay with this one, I'll use it for the next enclosure. It's what's pumping, guys, and peace out.